So now we're going to go right to your specialty on the Penn State Blitz, and that's recruiting.
Yes.
What can you tell? The Blue-White Weekend's usually kind of a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, last year, I think it was right around this time last year where I think Micah decommitted.
Right.
And then obviously he signed, but there's always some kind of news around Blue-White Weekend. Who is supposed to be there, and what are your expectations for maybe Penn State adding a player or two?
Yeah, I mean, we could sit here all day and list. It's almost like middle linebacker. The list of recruiting visitors is pretty much endless at this point. But I mean, the big names are ones that are familiar: Zach Harrison, the 5-star defensive end out of Cleveland, the 4-star guard Caden Wallace out of New Jersey. A number of official visitors, really. I mean, Marquise Wilson and Tyler Rudolph, 2 secondary guys out of Connecticut, will be on hand. Xavier Trust, the enormous 6'7", 350 Rhode Island offensive lineman, is expected to be there. So I'm sure the list will continue to grow. Taquan Roberson and Keaton Ellis, 2 of Penn State's, and our only 2 class of 2019 commits, will be there. Bob, I'll be surprised if Penn State doesn't get a commitment this weekend. We've seen Penn State typically line things up, and they have a pretty good feeling that it might get 1 or 2. And it usually comes around big events: Lift for Life in the summer, the Blue-White game in the spring, the Whiteout game in the fall. I mean, it's fairly cyclical in a lot of ways. Since James got here, these big weekends, they usually don't go away empty-handed. So I think they get a couple here and sort of kick things off for the class of 2019, and then the dominoes really start to fall in the fall.
I think it would be great moving forward if you could line up a recruit to commit right here on the Penn State Blitz.
That'd be great.
I don't want to put too much on your plate, but that's just something to think about this summer.
Right.
Maybe we've been a little exclusive, a little breaking news. That wouldn't be bad.
Right.
But it sounds like you're going to be pretty busy, not only during the game, but maybe the hours leading up to it, and maybe that Sunday could be a little interesting for you as well.
Stay tuned.
As we transition from Penn State's blue-white scrimmage, I mean, and then right after that, we're going to have the NFL draft where a lot of Penn State players are going to go, especially one prominent one should go.
Right.
Hopefully in the top 5
What's his name
picks,
again?
Saquon Barkley.
Thank
But
you.
we'll see. So that's it, basically, for this edition of the Penn State Blitz. My only question is, do you have some questions or comments?
Yes.
From the blue and white fan base?
Yes.
What do they need to know?
All right, number 1, bold prediction for the blue-white game. Go.
Bold prediction.
Yep.
The white gets shut out.
Okay.
And the offensive MVP of the game will be Mark Allen.
Ooh, I like it.
That's a running back, by the way.
Yeah, I'm going to go with, I think this game could be very defensive heavy. I do. I just don't. I don't see a lot of points, man. I don't. We've watched a couple of these practices, and we've seen that the defense seems to have a pretty aggressive beat to the ball more often than not. I think this is a more turnover-prone Penn State, or a turnover, very good at getting turnovers, Penn State defense. So I don't know. I just think it could be a very low-scoring affair.
Under.
Yes, under. Under 10 is what my bold prediction is.
Yeah, I do think there's a chance that one team might not score. If you look at who's going to play quarterback, there's no Tommy Stevens. There's not going to be any Trace McSorley for any significant amount of time. It's Sean Clifford. He might be quarterback in both teams.
Yeah. It could. Yeah.
Maybe Michael Schuster, the Camp Hill grad, that was very good. We'll see some time. But yeah, the opportunity. If you can't throw the ball to Juwan Johnson, and there's not really a lot of tight ends out there, Miles Sanders isn't going to be in the game very long.
Right.
So how are you going to score?
Who's scoring all these points?
And they actually have some concerns at place kicker, and the way they have that little drill before the game.
There will be no drill this year.
There will no drill.
Who's going to do it?
I just want to see.
Who's going to kick?
I still think Blake Gillikin is their best option.
Yeah,
and until somebody can show me that they're better at it, I know James doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
I think you could have a punter place kicker this year.
I think so too, Bob. I think that the new kickoff rule could play a big role in that too, because you don't need to kick it into the end zone anymore to maybe get the team to stop at the 25. And if you kick it to the wall, if you're trying to do all the things teams used to do, where you try and kick it to the 1 or kick it to the 5 and kick it to a corner and make your guys get down there and cover it, teams can call fair catch now and take that completely out of play. So you might not need Blake Gillikin to be the kicker and the kickoff guy and the punter. He could just do the placements and the punting. So we'll see. Miles Sanders, Sally wants to know, will he get most of the carries this fall by a wide margin, or will it be fairly close between him, Ricky Slade, maybe your bold prediction, Mark Allen, Journey Brown? There's a lot of guys back there, Bob, and Sanders is clearly the best one there right now, but is this a wide disparity between him and everybody else, or is it pretty close?
I mean, I feel like if Miles is healthy, and I don't have any he looks like he's ready for a full-time role. He's not quite the specimen that Barkley is, but
who is?
There's not really anyone kind of like that.
Right.
But I mean, Miles is 215 pounds. He's about 6 feet tall. He can run inside. I think if you're the offensive coordinator at Penn State and your name would be Ricky Ronnie, I think you want to get him the ball 20 times in the game.
Yeah.
It could be as a runner or a receiver. Just remember, they didn't really put a big load on Barkley last fall.
Right.
I mean, I think that the way that Penn State runs their offense, they're not looking for Miles to carry the ball 25 times a game. I think he could carry it 12 to 15 times a game and catch a couple of passes. But the way they spread the ball around, and I do think they want to incorporate, if it's not Journey Brown, if it's not Mark Allen, it's going to be Slade. But if you look at the stats at the end of the game, I don't know that they're looking to run the ball 45 times a game. I do think he's the clear-cut number one.
Yeah.
But I have to say that I felt the same way about Akeel Lynch. Honestly, coming into the 2015 season, and his career as a starter at Penn State that year was largely just the Temple game.
Right.
It was almost all over by week 2. I don't know if Slade is in that kind of category, but I think Miles is a much more talented runner than Akeel Lynch, and I do think there was a reason a lot of schools wanted him. So it's not now or never for Miles, but that first month of the season, I'd be surprised if he hasn't established himself as one of the 2 or 3 best running backs in the Big Ten.
All right, Bob, that is it for this week. We're out of questions.
It's blue-white time. We'll have lots to talk about coming out of that game, and hopefully it'll involve Micah Parsons.